Welcome back to our Sukkot, Feast of Tabernacles, Festival of Booths, B-O-O-T-H-S. It's the 7th night. The sun is beginning to go down, so it's still the 6th technically for me, but by the time I'm done and posted, it'll be the 7th day of Sukkot. We're going to be all over the place, so hold on. I'm going to start in Genesis chapter 17. I'm going to read to you something that happens on the 8th day. And God said to Abraham, this is pre-law, okay, pre-law. He says to Abraham, right after he changed his name from Abram, father of nations, or exalted father rather, to father of nations, or father of many. He says, as for you, you are to keep my covenant, you and your descendants after you, generation after generation. Here's my covenant which you are to keep between me and you, along with your descendants after you. Remember, there's no Jew yet. There's no Israel yet. It's Abraham. It's pre-Israel, pre-Judah, pre-law. He says, you are to be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskin. This will be the sign of the covenant between me and you. Generation after generation, every male among you who is 8 days old is to be circumcised, including slaves born within your household, those bought from a foreigner, not descended from you. It's all inclusive. I think that's a cool thing. There's reasons for that, which I can't get into tonight. Not enough time. But, yeah, okay. So let's go on to the next verse. Let's see. I'm going to take you to Matthew. Matthew chapter 1, verse 22. All of this happened in order to fulfill what Adonai had said, Yet-Heh-Vav-Heh, had said through the prophet Isaiah, Yeshayahu. The virgin will conceive and bear a son, and they will call him Emmanuel. I know we say in English Emmanuel, but the Hebrew is Emmanuel, and it means God with us. Like God dwelling with us. Okay, I'm going to skip over to Luke chapter 2 and verse 21. Right after Yeshua's... Oh, actually, you know what? No, I'm going to read starting at verse 1. Around this time, Emperor Augustus issued an order for a census to be taken throughout the empire. This registration, the first of its kind, took place when Quirinius was governing in Syria. Everyone went to be registered, each to his own town. So Joseph, because he was a descendant of David, went up from the town of Nazareth, in the Galilee, to the town of David called Bethlehem, house of bread, bread of life, in Yehuda, Judah, to be registered with Miriam, whom he was engaged to and who was pregnant. While they were there, the time came for her to give birth, and she gave birth to her first child, a son, and she wrapped him in cloth, a priest's cloth, and laid him in a feeding trough that was set aside for the lambs that were to be crucified come Passover. See, it wasn't just any old manger. It was a cave. It was the place. It was a special birthing place for the Passover lambs. And they were birthed now so that they would be under a year old come Passover. And here he is, came to dwell amongst us. Matter of fact, we're going to go there now. Oh, I skipped a verse. I did. Verse 21. Let me go back. On the 8th day, he was born on the first day of Sukkot. On the 8th day, when it was time for his Brit Milah, his circumcision, he was given the name Yeshua, which is what the angel had called him before his conception. You know what's really interesting? Children were named, boys were named on the 8th day. There's a new name written in glory. There's a song, right? Mine, we get a new name. And remember in John, it says that the Word became a human being and lived with us, and we saw his Shekinah, his glory, and the Shekinah of the Father's only unique, special, unique Son, full of grace and truth, because he tabernacled with us. Remember, he lived with us. He tabernacled with us. Very cool. So on the 8th day, a male is to be circumcised. That means the flesh is cut off. Hold on to that thought. The 8th day is a new beginning. The 8th day, see the 8? Watch this. It's the infinity. 8 represents eternity. Cool, huh? All right, let me take you to, and on the 8th day, the firstborn ox and sheep go to Abba, go to Yad-Heh-Vav-Heh, Adonai, in the Old Testament. But they were given on the 8th day. For 7 days they were to stay with their mom, but on the 8th day they were to be given to Adonai, to God. It's breezy, and I'm loving it. Sorry about that, so the camera's going to move, but it's because it's a little bit windy. There were 8 people saved in the ark. When the temple is dedicated, for 7 days it's consecrated with offerings, and on the 8th day it's put into use for its purpose. Same with the priests. Consecrated for 7 days, and on the 8th day they're put into service for their their purpose. Also, the vows of the Nazarite. For 7 days, there's offerings for 7 days. They're set aside, but on the 8th day, that's when the offering's given. Also, the same thing for lepers. They were to wait 7 days, and on the 8th day, they were clean. 8's a very important, very special number. So now I'm going to take you real quick to Zechariah. And I may have read it to you before, but it's got some importance about the day of Sukkot. Zechariah 14:16. Finally, everyone remaining from the nations that came to attack Jerusalem, will go up every year to worship the King, Adonai, Yad-Heh-Vav-Heh, Zavaot, Lord God of hosts, Yahweh of hosts, and to keep the festival of Sukkot. If any of the families of the earth does not go up to Jerusalem to worship the King, Adonai Zavaot, no rain will fall on them. Okay, I know, Old Testament. So let me take you to the New Testament. Revelation, chapter 21. Verse 1. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had passed away, and the sea was no longer there. Also I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared like a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, God's Shekinah." We just read about Shekinah when Yeshua came to earth the first time to dwell amongst us. We saw God's glory through him. See, God's Shekinah is with mankind, and he will dwell, live, habitate with them. They will be his people, and he himself, God, with them, will be their God. See, on the 8th day with circumcision, I'm going to go back to the beginning. With circumcision, the flesh is cut off, and life begins under a different covenant, a relationship. You're now marked as God's. You're given a name, and you belong to Yad-Heh-Vav-Heh, Abba, our Father, through the blood and redemption of Yeshua. So on the 8th day, after the seventh day, the millennium reign, Sukkot shows us that on the 8th day, then we enter into eternity with a new name. Our flesh is now dead and gone, discarded, thrown away, and He dwells with us the way it was meant to be. Isn't that cool? I think that's so cool. And so I'm going to tell you that that was God's purpose all along. So I'm going to go back to Leviticus chapter 23. And I'm going to read that. I read it to you once before, but I'm going to read it to you just one more time. Let's see. For on the 15th day of the month is Sukkot. On the first day there is to be a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. That was the day He was born. For 7 days you're to bring an offering. On the 8th day you are to have a holy convocation and bring an offering made by fire to Adonai, which we don't do. It is a day of public assembly. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. There's going to be a great assembly on that day when new names are given and when we enter into eternal relationship with Him dwelling with us. 8. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.